Hi, I'm Lulu, compulsive overeater. And today we're going to talk about some things from the personal stories after the 164 pages of the big book, which is all the basic text for recovering from addiction. And then the personal stories in the back are from people just telling their stories. And the very first one is Dr. Bob's Nightmare. And that's Dr. Bob, who co-founded with Bill Wilson. I love how Bill Wilson's story is like chapter one, and Dr. Bob's like, you can put me in the stories with everybody else. I don't know. I find that to be very humble, that he didn't need his own chapter. I don't know. He was just as instrumental, you know, in the where it says right on the first page of his story, 171, it says so from 1935 to 1950, he was sober. He got sober in 1935 to 1950, which was the year of his death. He carried the AA message to more than 5,000 alcoholic men and women. So if you do the math on that, 5,000 people in 15 years, he took a lot of people through the steps. Like, I don't know, somebody did the math once, it's like 1.2 people a day, comes out something like that. So he was very, very busy. He was very busy with this program. But I love on page 180, where he talks about why he loves to take people through the steps and why he takes people through the book. 5,000 people in 15 years. Down the bottom, it says, I spent a great deal of time passing on what I learned to others who want and need it badly. I do it for 4 reasons. 1, a sense of duty. 2, it's a pleasure. 3, because in doing so, I am paying my debt to the man who took time to pass it on to me. And because every time I do it, I take out a little more insurance for myself against a possible slip. How cool is that? It's just so I love his like humility. It's kind of like put me in the back of the stories. Mine is just a story. And also he admits it's a sense of duty. It's kind of like, I need to do this. Like I need to do this, like whether I want to or not. But it turns out that it is a pleasure. And it is repaying what's been so generously given to you. And it's where it says, on the very first page of Working with Others, on page 89, it says practical experience shows that nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with other alcoholics. It works when other activities fail. I remember my sponsor said, what are other activities? Everything else, all other activities, like steps 1 through 11, maybe. It's like this is the one. You can pray all you want. Actually, if you remember back to in Bill's story, when he was in that hotel and he came down to the lobby and he was hovering around, there was a bar and it was like filled with smoke and there was like the ambiance and the ice cubes were clanking and he could just smell that draw of going in and having a drink. And he was right there at the threshold. And when he was in that moment, when he was like, oh shit, right? He didn't get on the elevator and go back upstairs and get on his knees and pray. He went to a phone booth, tried to find another alcoholic he could help. That was the whole story about how when he called the woman that hooked him up with the doctor's wife, Henrietta, and then Henrietta put him in contact with Dr. Bob's wife. And that's how Dr. Bob said, I'll give him 20 minutes. And they talked for like 4 or 5 hours, something like that. It's really cool. But anyway, it's like the number one thing. It's the number one thing. If I don't say a prayer for the next year, but I work and take 20 people through the steps, or 5 people through the steps, it's nothing will ensure my immunity. But praying and keeping and enlarging my spiritual life is also part of the program too. They're all really important, but they seem to be saying like, damn, you got to work with other people. It's where you keep the charge. It's where you keep your, um, you go from a life of futility and fatality, and you go to a life of usefulness and life, instead of uselessness and death. Um, I also love down the bottom of 81, these are called the Dr. Bob's promises. These are his own little promises, because Bill Wilson puts promises all through the book. These are his promises. If you think you're an atheist, an agnostic, a skeptic, or you have any other form of intellectual pride which keeps you from accepting what's in this book, well, I feel sorry for you. If you still think you're strong enough to beat the game alone, that is your affair. But if you really and truly want to quit drinking liquor for good and all, and sincerely feel that you must have some help, we know we have an answer for you. It never fails. If you go about it with half the zeal you have been in the habit of showing when you were getting another drink. If you just put that much energy, the energy that I put into food and dieting, if I take half of that energy and put it into this program, I'm sure to be a success. And I just love it. The whole story is a great story. It's just his whole story. I mean, he was performing surgeries. He was a proctologist. He was a butt doctor, right? And he's operating on people's butts, and he's drunk. I mean, you know what I mean? And his very last surgery, when he was having his last drink, was Bill Wilson had to give him a drink before he went to go do that surgery, just to steady his hands before he was going to start doing his thing on people that, I mean, I don't know. Who would want that? Jesus. So, here's a physician. This is not a program of, this is not a matter of intelligence. This is a matter of spirituality. It's not a matter of intelligence. So that's what I got on Dr. Bob. I love the guy. One more. There's an actual live play. It's called, I don't know what it's called. Bill Wilson and something. It's a live play. It's come to this area several times. And it's the story of Alcoholics Anonymous. I was like, is this like for real? It was at a little playhouse one town over, and a bunch of us from OA went. There was like 15 of us all sitting together. And it was just the whole story. There they are. And it was just like, if you know this book, it's like this book on stage. It was like the best thing ever. And what was my point about Dr. Bob? It was just these two men. It was the whole play portrayed Bill's story and Dr. Bob's nightmare, which is his story, together. And it was just amazing to see to actually watch it. I actually went to it again. It came to town a second time, and I was like, oh yeah, I got to go again. So I'll find the name of that out, and maybe we can post it when the day comes that maybe people are going to live plays again. But that's what I got for this story.